Agatha Christie was a prolific writer, putting out 66 detective novels and 14 short story collections over the course of her illustrious career. Many of her novels went on to be adapted into TV shows and films, with the most recent being Death on the Nile, directed by Kenneth Branagh. Now considered the Queen of Mystery, Christie was born into a well-off middle-class family in southwest England and taught herself to read by age 5. By age 18, she was crafting short stories, and during World War I, she started writing detective novels. Her debut, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, was published in 1920 and introduced Inspector Hercule Poirot, a character who would go on to feature in half of her novels, in addition to 50 short stories and 2 plays. A few years before she passed away in 1976 at the age of 85, Christie shared a list of her own top 10 works. My own 10 would certainly vary from time to time because every now, she wrote in 1972, in response to a Japanese translator's list of her top books, and then I reread an early book for some particular reason, to answer a question that has been asked me perhaps, and then I alter my opinion, sometimes thinking it is much better than I thought it was, or not so good as I had thought. Here are Agatha Christie's 10 must-read novels in chronological order, according to Agatha Christie herself. Number 1. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Christie writes that The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is a general favorite. It was her 3rd novel to feature Detective Hercule Poirot, and in this story, Poirot retires to a small English village called King's Abbot. There, a wealthy widow named Mrs. Ferrars unexpectedly commits suicide, and the next day, her fiancé, Roger Ackroyd, is found stabbed to death. Poirot comes out of retirement at the request of Ackroyd's daughter Flora to solve the case. Number 2. The 13 Problems. This is the only short story collection on Christie's top 10 list, and all of the tales inside feature Detective Miss Marple, marking her first appearance in Christie's fiction. The blurb on the first edition of The 13 Problems reads, Miss Marple, that delightfully clever village spinster who solves the most amazing mysteries quietly and unobtrusively from her chair by the fireside, appears in each of the stories comprising the 13 Problems. Each story is a little masterpiece of detection, clever and ingenious, with just that added twist that only Agatha Christie can give. Number 3. Murder on the Orient Express. Murder on the Orient Express marked the 10th book starring Detective Hercule Poirot, and Christie ranked this novel in her favorites because it was a new idea for a plot. The story takes place on the Orient Express train, which has stopped because of heavy snowfall. Poirot, who is on the train traveling home to London, solves the murder of a passenger. Number 4. And Then There Were None. Not only is And Then There Were None one of Christie's favorite books, in 2015, a public vote named it the best Christie novel. Christie also loves the mystery and ranked it among her top 10, because it was a difficult technique which was a challenge, and so I enjoyed it, and I think dealt with it satisfactorily. The difficult technique she refers to is the fact that the plot is structured around a children's counting rhyme, where the 10 victims are killed in a manner which corresponds to a line of the rhyme, and eventually no one is left. Number 5. The Moving Finger. The Moving Finger made Christie's top 10 list because she reread it just prior to chronicling her favorite books and enjoyed reading it again very much. This is the 4th Miss Marple mystery and features Miss Marple in a minor role. She only appears in the end of the book when the police had failed to solve the crime. The plot. In a small town of Limstock in Devon, newly arrived residents are siblings Jerry and Joanna Burton. They soon receive anonymous letters accusing them of being lovers, not siblings, and learn that many residents are receiving these poison pen letters. When a local lawyer's wife is found dead, the police begin a search for the letter writer. Number 6. Toward Zero. In this 1944 mystery, an awkward house party gathers at Gulls Point, the seaside home of an elderly widow, Lady Tressilian. Soon, Lady Tressilian's friend dies, seemingly of natural causes, and she is subsequently found murdered and her maid drugged. Superintendent Battle, a detective, and his nephew are brought in to solve the case. This novel is Battle's fifth and last appearance in Christie's fiction. Number 7. Crooked House. The Leonides are one big happy family living in a sprawling ramshackle mansion. That is until the head of the household, Aristide, is murdered with a fatal barbiturate injection. Suspicion naturally falls on the old man's young widow, 50 years his junior, but the murderer has reckoned without the tenacity of Charles Hayward, fiancé of the late millionaire's granddaughter. Writing Crooked House was pure pleasure, and I feel justified in my belief that it is one of my best. Christie wrote. She also added, I found a study of a certain family interesting to explore. Number 8. A Murder is Announced. A Murder is Announced begins with a pronouncement in a local paper that reads, A murder is announced and will take place on Friday, 29 October, at Little Paddocks, at 6:30 p.m. Friends accept this, the only intimation. When villagers arrive at Little Paddocks, the lights go out at 6:30 and a gunman is killed. Number 9. Ordeal by Innocence. Ordeal by Innocence, Christie explains, is an idea I had had for some time before starting to work upon it. In the novel, Rachel Argyle, a mother of 5, is murdered. Her son Jacko is arrested for the crime, tried, and convicted. He later dies after 6 months in prison. Several years after that, a man named Dr. Calgary appears at the Argyle home, saying Jacko is innocent because his alibi was true. Calgary only just remembered, after recovering from memory loss caused by a concussion. The Argyle family then has to reckon with the fact a murder is still among them. Number 10. Endless Night. Christie normally wrote her mysteries in 3 or 4 months, but she wrote Endless Night in just 6 weeks. At the time of her 1972 list of best works, she noted that this novel was her favorite at present.